Welcome to my YouTube channel and blog. I'm Jenny Hall. Thanks for joining me for another card making tutorial. Today I am making a love note card that can be used for Valentine's Day, and I'm using the stamp set Foxy Friends. I'll be using the Misti stamp positioner to get a nice, clean, crisp stamped image, and I'll be using also the Sweet Sassy Heart framelits and the Fox Builder Punch. I'm going to make a skunk, and I think it's cute. It reminds me of the cartoon years ago where the skunk was in love with the cat. So in order to use more than one color together at the same time on this stamp, I'm using the markers and I'm going to use the Misti stamp positioner. The way that they work together is I can go over and over the image that I'm stamping, and it stamps down in exactly the same place. There's another tool that's available that's called Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, but I don't have very much luck with it. I have tried it, and I for whatever reason, I'm not able to have success with Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, but I have had wonderful success with the Misti stamping tool. So when I have this type of stamp that I need to use with markers or use more than one color on at the same time, I find that the Misti stamp positioner is a good tool to use. This particular model, I believe, is 6.5 inches, and so anything that is larger than that, you would have to use the larger version of the Misti tool. I'm using the markers Cherry Cobbler and Basic Black, and I'm stamping over and over until I get the image completely covered in. I don't want any little areas that are spots that I have missed, which sometimes happens in my stamping. I stamped the tree trunk with chocolate chip ink, and chocolate chip has a violet base. It will go very well with the red of the love note. They'll pair together perfectly. To make the skunk image, I'm using basic black cardstock and some more of the white cardstock. My card base is made of thick whisper white cardstock, and it measures 4¼ by 5½ inches. The easiest way to make one of the little critters that I've discovered is to just punch in all different colors that you plan to use. I punched out black and then white, and I'm using the different components together from those two punches, from the two punch papers, to work together. The white face can be representative of the skunk, but you can approach it in different ways. So I would suggest if you want to make a particular creature, then just play with it and see what works best and what you like. To make the white stripe on the tail, I cut a piece of the white paper, and I cut one of the tails, and then I put it back through the punch and slid it off to the side a little bit, which allowed me to make a smaller version but with the same curved lines. And so that's the way that I was able to get exactly the same type of look to the piece of white that was used for a stripe. I'm doing the same thing with the ears. I used the ears. It took me a couple of different punches to get the ears to come out. On the actual Fox Builder punch, there is only one image for the ears. So if you want to make your inner ear for your creature when you're making your card, then make sure that you do punch out enough ears, unlike me, who had to keep repunching. I thought about keeping the stamp of the love note as a quotation, but it really wasn't working. I wanted it to appear as if he was holding a note or a letter, and so I chopped off that bottom part, little triangle that hangs down, and used my marker to go all the way across it to make it look as if it were just a square. I decided that I wanted to have the skunk have little hands so that he could be holding on to the note. So I used the black portion that would have been where the white eyes are, and I cut it in half and I folded it over the love note so that it looks like his hands were holding on to it. As you can tell with this project, I am having a very difficult time with the glue. So much of this project is glued, and I'm using a little bit too much glue, and it kind of gets away from me. So my advice is to always go light with the glue. You can always add more, and don't do like Jenny does and add too much glue and then have to take it back away. I'm using wild wasabi to do the ivy images. I'm guessing that it's ivy because it comes up around, and I wanted to use this long elongated piece of greenery stamp in order to curve around the heart. Sometimes a bright idea translates out well, and sometimes it doesn't. So, where I found that I didn't have as much success was when I turned the stamp around and tried to turn it the opposite direction. It did not lay that direction normally, and so I felt some resistance from the stamp. However, it did eventually lay down enough, but the heart image is not perfect. On the upper right hand side, it is definitely shorter than the other side. So I'm going to compensate for this by putting some sequins in the area and drawing the eye up and away from it instead of allowing the eye to notice the imperfections. One thing that I try to keep in mind is that, of course, no project is perfect, and as crafters, we are our worst own critics. So this is a project I think someone will appreciate, with even the imperfections. Thank you for joining me for another card making tutorial today, and I invite you to go over to my blog at jennystampsup.com and find more card making inspiration. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Trip. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.